Hello all. Today I am going to do the poem Character written by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth, you might have heard him, you might have read about his poems, you might have known what kind of great personality he was. So William Wordsworth was the 19th century romantic poet. He belonged to the 19th century and there was a group of poets called the Romantic Poets. Among them, he was one. And he was, in fact, the leading poet of all the Romantic poets. William Wordsworth used to write poetries on nature and he used to appreciate the natural beauty around us. Character, the present poem, which is part of your Spectrum 4 additional English syllabus, is also showing Wordsworth's appreciation of the character of man. Let's see. Introducing to the author, William Wordsworth was one of the founders of English Romanticism and one of its most central figures and intellect. He is remembered as a poet of spiritual and epistemological speculation. He was on his walking tour to Europe when the thought of writing this poem came to his mind and he decided to pen it down. His love for nature, his sympathy for common man, both are the major themes of his poetry. His publication of the Lyrical Ballads popularized him in 1798. Lyrical Ballads were nothing but a collection of poems written by William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge. These two had published a huge collection of poems called as Lyrical Ballads and they became popular with that and there began the Romantic Age. From that publication actually the Romantic era starts. He's written many famous poems which includes the Prelude, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, Character and many more. Actually the list is so long and so beautiful that one cannot just stop reading his poems. Talking about the present poem Character. Character written by William Wordsworth speaks about the moral character of a segment of mankind in relation to the feeling he has for intended listener. He talks about the diversity present in one human face and his multifaceted personality. So this is one of the themes of the poem. He talks about that man is how a multifaceted personality, the diversity of emotions that he carries, and the beauty of those emotions because when it contradicts, it looks all the more enchanting. The theme of the poem is how humanity has a vast spectrum of emotion and thought. Our strength can provide peace and calm when bad things inevitably overwhelm us. So this is the primary idea which the poet is trying to express after talking about the multifaceted personality of the poem, of the man, that how when man is hit by pain and sorrows and problems, he is able to emerge out of it happily because of the strength that he carries. So when we go through the poem, the themes and the ideas might be more clear to you. Reading of the text. I marvel how nature could find space for so many contrasts in one human face. There is thought and there is paleness and bloom, and sluggishness, pleasure and gloom. So here in the very first stanza, in the very first line, the poet is talking about his surprise, that he marvels, I marvel. He's surprised that how nature could find space. Nature, he has been appreciating the beauties of nature all around him, the trees, the beauties, the clouds, the birds, the rivers, everything he has been appreciating, but he's now marveling at the nature when it is finding space even in man, even in human being. For so many contrasts in one human face. So what is the beauty about it? That there are so many contrasting emotions which are present in one human face, in one human being. He is capable of showing this diversity. There is thought and there is paleness and bloom, and sluggishness, pleasure and gloom. So what are the contradictions present? That man is capable of thinking at one point of time, and at the other point of time he is sometimes blank, without thought. So again, another time he is pale, unhappy. Second another instance he is happy, blooming. Then he is capable of showing sluggishness, lazy behavior, and other times he is showing his active sense, pleasure and gloom. So these are all the contradictory emotions that are present in human. Reading the explanation here, let's have a look. This first stanza is fairly simple. It is talking about how amazing, the word is described to the word marvel. It is that a human can show such a variety of contradictory emotions in one face. The poem tells us about the changing human nature, that how at one point of time there is thought in human mind and the other time there is no thought. How at once they are active and other time they are lazy. Pleasure, gloom, all are present, opposite emotions which are present in one human face. So in the very first stanza, the poet is showing his surprise and admiring the human personality, talking about that how contradictory emotions are present in mankind, and that opposite emotions only present in him makes him different from other creatures around. Moving on to the second stanza. There is weakness and strength, both redundant and vain. Such strength as, if ever affliction and pain could pierce through a temper that's soft to disease, would be rational peace, a philosopher's ease. So in the second stanza, I would alert all of you that yes, in this stanza, he is going to tell about the theme of his poem. First, you have learned that he is talking about contradictory emotions of mankind. Second, here he will be talking about that how man is able to become comfortable at the end, no matter what happens to him. That is a philosopher's ease, and quite an important question also for you. So this stanza requires a bit more thought. It starts off continuing the contradictions with weakness and strength. However, it says that these are both redundant and vain because ultimately man is capable of coping up with both. So when man is weak and strength both at the same time, in his same lifetime, he is feeling weak and he is feeling strong. Both the contradictions becomes redundant and vain because why? Ultimately, he is able to find his comfort zone. Ultimately, he is able to put a logic and reason out the problems happening around him like a philosopher and become rational. So such strength, whenever he is weak, he will be overcoming it with his strength. Such strength as he is possessing, if ever affliction and pain could pierce through a temper that's soft to disease. So when he is carrying such strength, despite that when at any point of time pain and affliction, sorrows pierce through a temper. Temper, human being has a temper of feeling painful also. So pierce through the temper of a man that's soft to disease. Man is soft to disease. Why? Because he is not always strong all the times. He sometimes feels weak. He sometimes feels sorrowful. He sometimes feels painful. So pain is something which can sometimes pierce through man's temper because man is soft. Man is, you can say, gives easily into problems. But ultimately what happens? He is able to defeat it. Ultimately he is able to come out of it. So I will just read the explanation here in the second one. In the second line, in the next line, it refers to our temper, our composure, which is soft to disease, which means that it is easily punctured or afflicted by other forces such as pain. But when this weakness attacks us, we are finally emerging out with our strengths and not defeated by the pain. And thus, the last line is about understanding why this happens, how we are able to overcome the pains and the weaknesses and ultimately become strong. How? Because Wordsworth is comparing man to a philosopher. Philosophers are at ease, are at comfort, when they are able to rationalize or make sense of the reason why something is happening to them. So man is ultimately able to rationalize, reason out why the problems happening around him are happening to him and what is the solution to those problems, and ultimately he is able to overcome those sorrows, pains and griefs and attain a philosopher's ease, the comfort of a philosopher. That is, you become rational, you become logical, you become strong again. So this quality of man, that he is able to reason out things and become comfortable and rational and logical, is a quality which no other creature on this earth would carry. That is why William Wordsworth is showing his marvel that despite such contradictory emotions present in the man, he is able to become a philosopher towards the end. So this is how he is appreciating the character of man. Moving on to stanza 3. There's indifference alike when he fails or succeeds. So when man is failing or succeeding, he is showing indifference. Why? He's not bothered if he's failing or successful. Why? Because those things for which he's failing or successful is not important to him. Therefore, he does not give importance to those things and give his attention to it. And second line, yet, again another contradiction. First line tells you that he shows his indifference to things when he's failing and succeeding, but he gives full attention 10 times as much as their needs. So things which are important for him, things where attention is required, he gives full attention, even 10 times attention than required. Why? Because he is a philosopher now. You have understood in the second stanza. And he is able to reason out which things are important to him, which things are not important to him. The unimportant things are ignored by man. This is again a marvelous character which man possesses. So I'll read the explanation for you. In the beginning of the stanza, it gets back into the contradiction of human character. It says we act like we don't care whether we fail or succeed, yet we pay so much attention to things that are really very important for us. So poet here tells how man is able to manage his emotions well, which is a marvelous thing. Man is able to manage his emotions so well. He is full of pride where it is needed, envious at other times. The positive quality of a human character like pride, joy, even calmness and spirit is celebrated by the poet. That man is carrying so much of positivity, positive qualities with him. Though in the last line there is still a contradiction again. That he says, the human character is spirited, which means enthusiastic, energetic and should be good. But sometimes it seems it is not. That is, man is able to show his spirit both forward and coy. Forward and coy, sometimes he moves ahead to advance, to be successful, to show his spirit. And sometimes he moves backward to show his laziness, to show his feeling of depression, or to show that he cannot win that situation. So again, the contradictions, the entire poem is full of the contradictions which man is trying to talk about. Stanza 4. There's a freedom and sometimes a diffident stare of shame scarcely seeming to know that she is there. So in this paragraph, it begins talking about man's freedom and how man, human being, human character is not confident or not aware that it is there for him. What is it? It is freedom. So freedom is a quality which only man possesses. No other creature on this earth possesses that quality. And when man is aware of this quality of freedom, he is able to use it. When he is not aware of this quality of freedom, he is not able to use it. So, poet here is telling that freedom is something which man is carrying by his birthright. Because of his creation has that quality with him. But many times he does not know that he possesses that. He has that freedom. And he behaves like a slave to other people or other situations. So why he is mentioning this? Because many times the situations are very painful and sorrowful for mankind, and those situations they are not able to find a solution. They give in to the situation. Why? Because they do not know that they are free to do anything they want to do. So there's freedom and sometimes a diffident stare. Diffident stare means a blank stare. You become blank. Sometimes you know you are free and you behave and you use your freedom, and sometimes you don't know you are free. You become blank. You feel as if you are You are a puppet in the hands of situation, and you give in to the situation, and you are not able to exercise your strength. Those are the times wherein you are weak. So you are having sometimes a blank look of shame, scarcely seeming to know that she is there. There's virtue of shame, scarcely seeming to know that she is there. So sometimes you're so embarrassed under situations that you scarcely know that she is there. She is there means the freedom is there with you. You need not feel embarrassed, you need not feel giving in types, and you need not feel sorrowful. You can overcome with it and come out as a successful, strong person, but you do not come out like that because you are giving in to the situation wherein you are blank. You do not know you can exercise your freedom. There's virtue. The title, it surely may claim. So, some people feel that they are virtuous, they have virtues, good qualities, and everybody tries to claim this title of having all the good qualities, but yet, heaven knows, only heaven knows what is worthy and who is worthy. That means all are not perfect. Everybody is not perfect. Nobody is perfect in fact, and therefore man needs to behave like that. In this paragraph, it begins talking about man's freedom and how the human character is not confident whether he is having the freedom or not. In situations of weakness, he gives in and do not exercise his freedom. Then it talks about how many like to call themselves virtuous, but in the next line it says that yet heaven only knows who is worthy of the name, referring to the fact that no one can really call themselves virtuous because nobody is perfect. As discussed throughout the poem, everyone has their flaws, everyone has contradictions, everyone have their own weaknesses and strengths. So a beautiful paragraph in stanza indeed, which talks about that how man is having the topmost quality of overcoming his weaknesses, that is freedom, yet at times he becomes blank and is unable to exercise it. Another point the poet highlighting here, that every man calls himself virtuous, whereas only God knows who all are virtuous. Moving on to stanza 5. This picture from nature may seem to depart, yet the man would at once run away with your heart. So the picture from nature, which is a picture from nature? The picture around you. It's not referring to man here now. It's talking about the natural beauty which is around you. So this picture from nature may seem to depart. You might feel, and you are feeling enchanted at looking at the beauties of nature, but that beauties of nature, if you look at the other moment, you might forget it also. You might look at a beautiful flower, the other day you might not remember. But you meet a beautiful person today, or you meet a person today with a very good character or a good quality, definitely you are going to remember him or her tomorrow also. So that is the difference which in the last stanza the poet is trying to establish between the nature in general and the nature of mankind. How influential is the nature of man? Because the nature of man leaves a long-lasting impact, whereas the general nature around you enchants you, you like it, you feel attracted towards it, but it is temporary sometimes. You do not remember it forever. So the picture from the nature may seem to depart, yet the man would at once run away with your heart. So the man you have met with a good character, with a good personality, with a good quality, runs away with your heart, remains in your heart forever. You do not forget that man so easily. And I, for 5 centuries, right gladly would be. So, and therefore, when a man impresses you so much, is so influential than the general nature around you, you remember him even for 5 centuries. So 5 centuries here is a hyperbole used by the poet in order to show the influence that man can have upon others. For 5 centuries, you do not live for 5 centuries. Hardly a century we have a lifetime here. Yet, poet is mentioning of 5 centuries, the man will be remembered. Why? Because he is exaggerating the influence that man possesses. So for 5 centuries, gladly it would be there. The influence would be there. Such an odd, such a kind, happy creature as he. So this is a odd. Odd means odd creature. Why? Because of the contradictions it carry. Yet, despite being an odd, creature of creation of God, it is the happiest probably. So I would just read the explanation for you here. In the last stanza, the themes of the poem is tied into one. It talks about how even though humankind is so incredibly flawed, yet we still fall in love with man's abilities. The nature around us is so beautiful but still it can be forgotten by people. But if the man runs away with your heart, you, like marvel nature of man, it is going to be with you for centuries. That is remembered forever. In the last two lines, the speaker says that despite all the contradictions existing in man, he is the happiest creature created by God. So wonderful poem with a wonderful meaning and talking about all of us indeed. Yes? Okay. Looking at the conclusion, a character by William Wordsworth speaks about the moral character of the segment of mankind in relation to the feelings they carry for the intended listener. The poem has paradoxes that how there are so many types of character in one human face. It also tells us about the strength and weaknesses that a man carried great strength and fight with his problems and comes to comfort at last. Man has freedom but sometimes act as though unaware of the fact. Many call themselves virtuous when no one truly worthy of the title suggesting perfection. We can still fall in love with each other despite how flawed we are and contradictory we are. The poet is happy to be human. Okay, looking at the important question, students. How does the poem speak on the moral character of mankind? So moral character talking about that yet despite his weaknesses, he possesses strength. So contradictory emotions you're going to talk about in this question. When does the human face express depth of human expression and complications? So when does it expresses the depth of human expression and complication? To all the contradictory emotions it carries, you are going to express it. Nothing could change the philosopher's ease. Explain it with reference to second stanza. So it's a very important question. Nothing could change the philosopher's ease, that man is by birth having this blessing of being a philosopher, being a rationalist. And whatever problems or contradictory emotions he might carry, ultimately he can rationalize it and come out of it, of the problems, of the sorrows, and be at ease, be at comfort. So nothing can change the comfort of man. He is always at comfort because he is able to overcome his weaknesses, his sufferings, his pains, and ultimately feel strong. What does the poet mean when he says, at once run away with your heart? At once run away with your heart, I just mentioned that man is so influential that he'll be remembered by you forever. The poem, a character, brings out the dynamics of contrasting personality between man, listener, and himself. Explain. So, I hope now you are capable of answering this question as well. It is a dynamics of contrasting personality between man, the listener, and himself. So listener is understanding that what kind of creation the man is, and the poet himself who is saying that I'm happy to be human at the end, because he has got that quality of being a philosopher. How does the poem suggest that humanity has a vast spectrum of emotions and thoughts? So the entire poem we have talked about the contradictions present, and you are going to exemplify all those contradictory emotions present in man. I hope all the questions are convenient for you to answer now, and the poem is also very, very clear. If there are any doubts, you can please get back to me. Thank you so much.